Well, that was pretty sick. Did everybody get a chance to see Pam Bondi? Hello, loves. Hello. It is I, your favorite oracle, the Oracle of Whimsy. Whimsy, mayhem, and mischief. Let me grab a hat. I've got a regular hat today. Hello. Might as well be fully dressed while we get started. Here's a nice hat. Yes. I've got actually hundreds of hats. I should be fully dressed when I deliver this kind of news. Well, as many of you know, Pam Bondi was before Congress today in the uncomfortable position of evading answering questions about the cover up of the Epstein files. And of course, many of you also know that Ghislaine or Ghislaine, however you want to pronounce the psychopath's name, wow, she was not answering questions until she can be guaranteed. I don't know what. What does she need now? Is Princess not happy with her new apartment, her new doggy, her new wonderful life? She's just so happy. I mean, who says crime doesn't pay? Who says trafficking children as pieces of meat doesn't pay? Evidently, it paid just fine for Ghislaine Maxwell, the only person currently rotting in a prison cell from this horrible, wretched operation. And I appreciated what Massey said, that this is the worst cover-up one of the worst cover-ups in U.S. history, and it doesn't just involve Donald Trump. It involved 4 administrations: the Clinton administration, the Bush Jr. administration, Obama, and now Trump. All have to be held accountable. Both Democrats and Republicans were on the list. And I think that we have to get past party politics and start talking about what this is really about. And that's about what power does to people. And that's beyond a political party. Whether you have power in Saudi Arabia to beat your wife to death and no one's going to say anything about it, which is currently what's going on with Mohammed bin Salman, whose wife's estranged after being put in the hospital probably more than once. He was in the Epstein file talking about how great Epstein was as a friend. You get me, right? And then we have the royals over in Britain. We've got Trump here in the United States. We've got Clinton. And I think we have to stop looking at this as, well, look at what those Democrats do. Chomsky, oh my God, this is a problem for communist. I think if anybody looks at the roster of people that were flying on Epstein's private plane, they don't think communism and socialism, okay? They're thinking greed, capitalist pigs who don't want to pay their taxes. So, and covering up the names of Republicans, but releasing the names of Democrats and playing party politics is not what this country needs right now. And I think it's disgusting. Stop protecting people who do bad things. And I think it starts with the kind of questioning we had with Pam Bondi, where we start holding our intelligence agencies 100% responsible for their part in all of this. And that means dragging them out into the light and forcing them. It's not just the recent head of the FBI, Kash Patel. I mean, there were many people who headed the FBI that buried this and were more than happy to aid and abet in a cover-up where children were raped, trafficked, and in some cases possibly murdered. And there's also now evidence of breeding farm research, possibly children that have gone missing. So if anything, the online sleuths, it's getting more horrible and more horrific than we even could imagine. And that brings us back to Sasha Barrows, who is laying low. I guess he's gotten death threats. He's disappeared. His stuff sounded crazy until you started to find out about Zorro Ranch and you start reading the diaries of the victims and about how many babies, how many abortions or crying babies and missing babies from the diaries of the victims that had been at Zorro Ranch and some of Epstein's properties. You start to realize that what sounded fantastical with Sacha Barros is now starting to look like par for the course for these people, including genetics research and scientists that were more than happy to fund this bizarre Frankenstein research, which of course would be propped up by the British royal family, since let's face facts, they invented eugenics. The belief that some races are superior to others can be traced back to Sir Francis Galton, who created the IQ test. I did my dissertation on this subject, by the way. And the belief that the white British royal family was basically the master race. And so it was a desperate attempt to hold on to power as socialism began to rise in Britain. And you can tell from the behavior of Andrew that they still believe in the divine right of kings, and they still believe that they are the master race, and the rest of us are simply toys and playthings. So we come to the Fire Horse year, which begins February 17th. And that is a time of reflection for all of us, and a time when we are entering into the fire puja. We're entering into, we have many different mantras that we can utilize when we're working on a particular healing, whether it's the water purification rituals. But fire is something that's mentioned not only in the Vedas, in Upanishads, this idea of purification with fire, but we also see it in the Torah as well, that fire purifies and it removes evil, right? This idea that we can burn it away, and it comes from how metal was made, metallurgy, where you get temperatures high enough to burn off the impurities, so that the pure gold or the pure product can be retained. So that's some of the imagery we think about as we enter into, I believe it's February 17th, if I'm not mistaken. We're now entering into this time of war and purification. Let's go ahead. We'll do the empath prayer, and we will get to everyone's questions regarding Pam Bondi under Congress. Trump's whole team looks like it's going down. The loss of their base, the fact that Trump's approval rating is now dipping below the 40 percentile would indicate that he probably can't come back from this. And the only thing that I think Democrats have to worry about right now is stolen elections or obstruction of the vote, prevention of the vote. Keeping voters from voting is the only way they're going to be able to keep from a blue tsunami in the 2026 when we go to the polls for 2027, when we see what happens in Congress. Senate is also looking pretty bad right now. If you look at the local races that have come out of, say, for example, Texas, Florida, not looking good for the Republicans. Without further ado, we're going to go in and bring the empath prayer. If you could like, share, and subscribe, I would be eternally grateful as we boldly march towards 100,000 subscribers. I thank you and bless you for that. All right, let's do it. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say amen. All right, the first thing that people wanted to know is they wanted to know about the fallout. What was happening with a fallout potentially? This administration seems to be in a lot of trouble. It actively was involved in a cover-up, and there are consequences for that. At the same time, I think Massey had a point that 4 administrations should have done something about this. We're getting tired of men in positions of power trivializing child sexual abuse and human trafficking. and we really want you to do something about it. Take it seriously. We're tired of bake sales in Texas to pay for rape kits to be analyzed while police officers fall asleep at the wheel and the DNA decomposes because nobody can be bothered to do a rape kit. We're getting tired of the people in positions of power, the men who are supposed to be protecting the population. Last I checked, it was close to over 50% were female, equally should be protected under the law. And not to have crimes against women and children, particularly sex crimes, be minimized, trivialized, debased, and discarded. I think I can speak for the majority of Americans when I say that. No more bake sales to analyze rape kits. All right. That's what they're doing in Texas. No money. We have money for everything, but we don't have money to analyze rape kits because we don't care. We want to humiliate you with humiliating bake sales at your local high school. That's how much we hate having to prosecute rape offenders, right? What does it say about our country? What does it say about men in law enforcement? Predominantly men. All right. So we have a case being developed, a case or evidence against the president and against this administration. And I have to tell you honestly, this is looking like they're moving quickly towards articles of impeachment, and that these articles of impeachment, they only need a few Republicans to go along with this. And we know that Massey is definitely going to be one of them in Congress. But we're looking here at that Three of Pentacles moving into base position. And the Three of Pentacles is about building a foundation. It's a real estate card, but it's really about building a foundation. It can also be evidence in the case if you're building a case, if you're constructing something. And so it's an architecture imagery that's being used here. And I often use it when we're looking at something like a legal case or something like that. We are building or constructing something. We're building or constructing something wherein a thief attempts to escape prosecution. So that is the clearest way that I would read these cards. And I think most readers would agree with me, because the karma card is the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords is the card of theft. It's when someone is looking behind them. I hope nobody's gaining on me, and that individual grabs what they want, and then they take off and run. Well, I don't think that I'm going to be able to get away with this, right? So that is the Seven of Swords. So how I read a Celtic cross, a lot of people know how I read the Celtic cross, is that I always take two bases. And by taking two bases, I have a pretty good idea of where we're going in a reading, right? So if you're asking me, I just want to give you the best possible reading, so I'm trying to get the best positioning. If you're asking me, we're building a case against a thief who attempted to get away from a crime. So the other thing that people are getting away with isn't just the degree to which they were pilfering and stealing our children and abusing our children. This is only the beginning of the problem. The degree to which they were robbing, stealing, and pilfering our nation. Slavery didn't end. We talked about that. We've talked about the fact that slavery was taken to the islands. It was taken where nobody could see, but there was still human trafficking, breeding, whole entire villages where men were keeping their slave families. This is what I saw in the remotes. And now the horror of that is finally coming out. And Epstein had his own operation in his own islands. Where we're at right now is I see a great deal of fighting in Congress. When I talked about Trump and his physical illness, which is the only way he's going to get out of this at this point, is if he leaves early saying he's sick. It's the only way he can save face. Nobody wants him there. His approval rating has tanked. He can't come back from this. You go below 42%, you can't come back. This guy, I think there was a poll the other day. One poll came back 36%. This guy is so far. It's so bad. His approval rating is so bad that they really don't think that it can come back. So that's something to think about, right? So this idea that could he pull a rabbit out of the hat like he did when he took the 2024 election, right? So there was this idea that he kind of created a miracle because people thought that here he was facing possible prison when he was on trial. And yet he evaded that and wound up walking into the White House. Was a hell of a political comeback. Of course, he had help from Elon Musk and a few other people. But now we find ourselves coming out of that. And the stages of grief, death and dying, and the death and dying of this president, starting with denial. This is the healthiest president, right? Pam Bondi's BS, the propaganda coming out of, not Pam Bondi, the other person, the person that, the press secretary, yes, whatever her name is. The BS, but also Pam Bondi as well. This idea of just making up stories, telling stories, saying things that people want to hear. And this idea that people are not going to figure it out. So you have this denial, and then from denial, you had anger. You had Trump lashing out, attacking people. That anger we saw, and then after anger, you start to see bargaining and negotiating, and that's and excuse me, it's denial, anger, and then fear. So now we're going from anger to fear. But you can see Five of Wands. Five of Wands has been called an education card because people are fighting. They're having an exchange of ideas. Some people have said that it's the merry men of Shakespeare that she has drawn a picture of. You can take a look right there. The merry men of Shakespeare, they are putting on a play. And they are, let's get together and let's pitch a bunch of, let's make a performance. So they're kind of building a theater stage, right? So it was these theater guys, and they're putting together a play, a performance. Nobody's actually hitting anybody. They're just, I got a stick, let's go, let's put this play on. So it was influenced by this idea of the theater, the merry men, a performance. It's often been associated with the theater, the Five of Wands, an ensemble cast, an exchange of ideas, education. It can also be conflict and fighting, depending upon the cards that are associated with it. If you're asking me because of the nature of the question, I would say that Pam Bondi and Congress are in serious fighting mode. And because we also are looking at this kind of changes that are happening with death and dying of this presidency, we're now entering into anger and fear. And you can see all that Five of Wands. Interesting to see the crossing card. And the crossing card is grief over what you've lost. Here's an interesting card for those of you who are learning the tarot, is the Five of Cups. Five of Cups, of course, is signified by the element water. Water has to do with emotions, love, emotions, and healing. We think about purification also with water, baptism, or the mikvah in Judaism, but also water fasting and purification in other traditions. This idea of water as a purifier. The cups that have fallen, this idea that people will fall, that situations will fall, that administrations will fall. Three of Cups is that which we have lost, and not seeing that which remains, the Two of Cups that remain, but instead grieving that which has been lost. So you have this huge breakout that's happening in Congress right now, and you have this huge grief over that which has been lost. Interesting that what's coming in, Six of Pentacles, is interesting. That's one of my main cards for Congress. And the reason I chose Six of Pentacles to be one of the cards that I think about when I think about Congress is because the Six of Pentacles is about justice and giving to those most needy. So let's take a look at that card briefly. It's moving into sixth or future position. The Six of Pentacles, giving to those who cannot care for themselves. You can see the money is being administered. And the reason I associate it again with Congress is because Congress has control of the purse. Congress also has control of justice, and you can see that the money is going to the person who needs it, and the other person is not getting nada because he didn't earn it, right? So it's this idea of the money going to the most worthy, the balancing and justice of the finance. And so for that reason, the Six of Pentacles was chosen as one of the main cards for Congress. And so we can see this fighting and this future position of Congress. Congress, you are here to serve the people. You're not here to engage in a cover-up against a large pedophile ring. So my advice, if you want to get salvation, is remember that to embody the Six of Pentacles. You are there to give power to the purse. You are there to take our money. It's our money. We worked for it. It's not your money. It's our money. And we will tell you what we want you to do with it. And what we want you to do with it is protect Social Security and create affordable health care and affordable housing for America's most vulnerable. Can we do that? Can we do that with our money? Because we want to do that more than helping rich people hide their money and foreign assets, right? Including trafficked people. I think most of us are on the same page here, right? That our money that's been collected from our government, we would like it to go towards, right? Social Security, healthcare, affordable housing, living the good life. We don't want to work 50 hours a week. We want 35 hours a week, just like in Denmark. So we're pretty clear about the kind of country we want to build for ourselves. And we don't want people fleeing to foreign countries and taking our money with them because they don't want to pay their taxes. These are the things most of us agree on. And we do have that theft card we need to get back to here, which is the karma card. We're talking about people that will attempt to flee or get away from prosecution, which goes back to this idea that in addition to trafficking people and charging and making money by trafficking the most beautiful girls from these beauty pageants, kidnapping them and trafficking them to Saudi Arabia and God knows where else. God only knows what happened to them. So many children of these girls have gone missing. We don't even know, like that woman that was screaming about cannibalism in Dubai, and then nobody ever saw her again. She was some fashion model that went to a party and they were killing and eating people. She got hysterical. She went out onto the hotel and started screaming about it, and then no one ever saw her again. So as horrible as this stuff sounds, it's now coming out that a lot of it's true, that this is what people in positions of power have done. And now is the time of reckoning. So if this was a cover-up that went for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, if it's going to come out, it's going to come out during the time of the fire horse. Absolutely. I think most people would agree with that, right? Because it's the time of purification and war. You see that Five of Wands, that conflict card, that grief. The Seven of Pentacles tells me that they will attempt to get away with their crimes, they will attempt to flee, and they will attempt to cover up their financial crimes. And so we Americans from both political parties, get over this political party stuff. Pedophilia is not a political party. Pedophilia is a mental illness. Whether the pedophile is Noam Chomsky or whether the pedophile is Epstein or Ehud Barak or Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia or Prince Andrew. It doesn't matter what the religion is. It doesn't matter. This is what we got to get past religion. We got to get past party politics here. He was a human trafficker, and he was also hiding money for them. He was doing a lot of horrible things for them. And the one thing that these men had in common was that they were on power trips and they were pedophiles, right? So if we keep going back and forth and fighting and turning it into a party politic, then we will never do justice for the victims. And instead, we need to just expose it, right? Between now and August of 2026, we will see hearings, massive exposés. You see the August card coming in. It's the Eight of Wands. I read wands literally as months. Most readers do. And that's because the wands are associated with dendrochronology. It's the only suit that grows. Nothing else grows. Water is fluid. We never know where water is coming or going. You can't read time. A sword is solid like ice, and it's associated with the element of metal. And the winter comes January the first year. So people will often read a sword like the Ace of Swords as the time of January. The Ace of Swords is depicted as an ice sculptor, by the way. and frozen in ice as the first year or the beginning of the year. And some people hold that it's a 1-year period. So however you want to read it. But most are pretty sure that because the wands are the only suit that grows, that is why we can see time in wood, because wood is alive, wood grows. Whereas that's not true for something like a sword, or you can or water or something like that. So 8 of Wands is associated with the month of August, and it's also associated with an 8 months. It's also a card that's associated with strife or conflict. So we can predict over the next 8 months. There's a lot of fighting right now. Justice is coming in Congress, and action, reaction. I'm seeing this strong female energy because the Queen of Wands is very territorial. She's ruled by Sun and Mars. You can see that nice Sun card here. In the most ancient depiction of her, we can find it in African literature, African stories, the goddess Oshun, who wore the yellow dress and was always seen holding her beautiful sunflowers and her fans. She depicts love, romance, beauty, sensuality, but also the dignity of women and the dignity of a woman's work. The dignity of a woman's work, her worth, right? So these are the things we think about when we think of the aspects of the Queen of Wands, or Oshun in her earliest depictions. And so we have this, she establishes territory. The other thing about wands is it's my way or the highway. We establish time and space with the wands. It's another way that you can look at that, is time and space. So she, boom, boom, my way or the highway. I'm establishing some space here. So the strong female, respecting a woman, respecting a woman's worth, her work, her labor, what she gives to the world. You see this beautiful energy coming in. It's already in past position, which means that there are strong women rising up. And by August, boom, this whole thing explodes with that strong female energy, the goddess Oshun coming in, action, reaction from the 5th to the 6th house. We see that 8 of Wands moving in, that power of the fire horse. She's going to carry it. She's going to drive that into 2026, bringing with her that 6 of Pentacles, that justice. We will see justice in Congress, and we're going to see some amazing women coming out of Congress that are going to lead the charge. In fact, they already are leading the charge on that Knight of Wands as it brings in purification for 2026. Where we're at in the 7th house is expect partnerships that you didn't expect. It's the next door neighbor who voted for Reagan, who has the perfect lawn, who you thought, oh my God, he voted for Reagan. And then you find out like he's your best friend and he's totally taking care of your and your family in hard times. It's that great neighbor who you may not agree with about everything, but they wind up being an amazing partner in the end. So 2 of Wands moving into 7th position tells me that it's very, very likely that we are going to be starting to have odd bedfellows. We're going to be having partnerships on both political sides, because the only people that don't like pedophiles are pedophiles and people who are protecting pedophiles because they're dirt bags and they're getting paid by pedophiles, right? So the rest of us, the 99%, I hope it's that number, want to see these people brought to justice. So expect to start seeing that 2 of Wands moving in 7th position. Here it is again, that sun energy. That's the energy of August. I'm telling you, look at that horse energy coming in, the fire. Sun is interesting. It stands in the house of opposition. And again, it has to do with sun exposure and purification. You can see the sun imagery is coming in, both with the Queen of Wands, with that strong fiery energy that brings in that sunflower, right, which also acts as a mirror. She looks at her beauty. She sits on the moon and she admires her beauty. Oshun, the story of Oshun. Better treat me right, or I'm going to stay up here and you're going to be miserable. You don't want to lose me because I bring everything wonderful into the world, the feminine aspects of the divine, right? So she's already started to purify. And you can see by August when that sun comes in, that sun energy. And again, you can see here that sunshine, that sunflower, again, here imagery, which symbolizes truth and beauty and the power of the feminine divine. Stands again in the house of opposition when the sun is high. That's usually July 21st, right around August, is right around the time when we start to see that energy really blowing up. The hope and the fear is the family card, the family inheritance. What have we as Americans inherited here? What did we inherit? The Ten of Pentacles is an inheritance card. It's a deep card. It has multiple meanings. Let's take a look at it. It stands in the house of hopes and fears. Ten of Pentacles is the legacy, but it also can be, in its dark aspects, ugly, dirty, dark secrets. Somebody asked me why my cards are always straight up. I do that to make it more enjoyable for the audience. In my personal readings, I'll sometimes use inversions also. An inverted Ten of Pentacles would be dirty little family secrets, child abuse, child sexual abuse, incest would fall under the categories of an inverted Ten of Pentacles. If you take a look, you can see the multi-generational aspects of the Ten of Pentacles. You can see the senior citizen. He stands behind the wall as if he is past or he is moving to be in the world to come. You can see the husband and wife, and then behind her dress, which acts as a veil, comes the new generation that will be born. We have those who passed and those that will be born. And we have an aspect of hiding in secrecy, talking, telling secrets while someone spies. That's another aspect to this. The wealth of being able to afford those designer dogs, right? So I think that she was also, those dogs that wear the emerald necklaces that walk down up the Upper East Side, when you're going to an art school in New York. I think she was going to art school in New York when she drew this. Those cushy dogs, right? The cushy ones, the expensive ones, right? So this is like the lap of luxury inheriting, but its dark aspects could be dirty, dark secrets, because we're talking about him being taken down, Trump most likely in his administration, because of the Epstein file, because of the bizarre references he's made to sexual abuse, the fact that he's been found liable himself for sexual assault, the fact that he said that he wants to be sexually inappropriate with his own child. These are the kind of things that make us think that Donald Trump has some bizarre aspects to Ten of Pentacles. We also know that he's been stealing people's inheritance. For example, he stole his niece Mary's inheritance, right? So thieves, dirty family secrets. And the final outcome is that the money will be harvested. I am going to predict that as a result of the investigation into Epstein's dealings and the people that he was doing dealings with financially, that money will be confiscated or taken back by the American government to the American people, and that includes properties. Anything that was part of anybody that was stealing money, trying to get away, avoiding paying taxes, schemes with the IRS, anybody that was engaging in human trafficking, not only should they be held accountable, but the Seven of Pentacles is about harvesting, it's about investment and recouping your losses. So it's very likely that we will descend on the Wexlers of the world, these pedophiles of the world, and we will demand that the money be returned, both because that Six of Pentacles is moving in, like I said, to it's in fourth position, moving into sixth. Fourth is what we manifest to, also we're sitting in a star, which is good stars, an anointing, a blessing is coming our way. This thing is blowing up. It's blowing up huge. And I think we're going to see financial compensation for the American people. If they stole money, if they were hiding money in the Cayman Islands, if things of this nature were going on, or if they did not pay restitution, they have to pay restitution not just to the victims directly, but to the American people for the money they stole, for the damage they caused. In terms of our partnerships will be strong, and expect us to be working across the aisle with members of the Republican Party that have moved away from this president. Also, I want to point out that the Empress, along with the Sun, moves into eighth position. And the Empress is the treasure trove that ever overflows. It is Gaia, it is abundance, it is pregnancy, it is birth. It overflows with information. So everything that's been redacted will be exposed. Everything in the Epstein file will be exposed. Every photograph or image that the Europeans have on Epstein will be exposed. Every victim will receive their justice, because the Emperor stands in their house of opposition. That means that this This thing is going to blow up. This thing is going to blow up, and there are too many people that have too much data on every horrible thing. They try to cover this up, and I'm so glad it's all coming out. The other thing is that they will probably try not to make a deal in the hopes that they will be able to get off through the courts, in the sense that the Four of Cups stands in the hopes and fears along with the dirty family secrets. There's dirty little family secrets, people gossiping. Don't tell them about what we did at Zorro Ranch, right? And then you have the Four of Cups, which is when you plead the fifth. I'm not going to tell you anything. So this is not going to be easy. We're going to have to be pulling teeth. And that in and of itself, they should be charged for obstruction of justice and for refusing to answer questions in Congress, in addition to the cover-up. We could be facing charges because of that Four of Cups. We saw that Four of Cups today when we saw Pam Bondi refuse to answer basic questions. And then the final outcome is the Lovers card. I'm telling you, we are going to be getting along great with a lot of Republicans. They're going to break with this president. They're going to join our side. And this president is given the honor of resigning. He will be, if he doesn't, look, if he's smart, he'll resign for health reasons. We've made our point and we've proven our point with Lovers as the outcome. This is a Congress that is going to start cooperating. And I feel very strongly about this reading, and I feel very confident about this reading. And the day will come when Lindsey Graham will have that conversation with Donald Trump. Mr. President, the duty has fallen on me to inform you that we have reached a consensus in the Senate. We give you the honor of resigning. It's coming. It's coming very soon. All right. I want to thank you for watching this quick video from the Oracle of Whimsy. If you need a consultation with me as a medical intuitive and as a tarot reader, you can find all that information below this video. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your support. Bye.